When I often say passion, I think, as Dr. Lori mentioned earlier, it often evokes images of the physical and the erotic. When you say compassion, people imagine a figure like Mother Teresa helping the poor. So when I ask you to put the terms passion and compassion together, please know that I'm not asking you to imagine Mother Teresa in a bikini. Seriously, if passion is caring about something enough to want to do it, even to the point of danger, and compassion is having a deep feeling of wanting to do something to relieve the suffering of others, if I ask you to put those terms together, it describes what I do. I'm a physician who's a Christian who does abortion. Hold up, wait a minute. You are what? You do what? Now, if that's your response to what I just said, don't worry, you're not alone, because many people can't put those identities that I hold together. And for the first 12 years of my practice, neither could I. Who am I? I'm not anybody you should know. I'm a Southern-born African-American man, 53 years old. I've practiced OBGYN for 22 years. And I was raised as a Christian in the South with all the bells and whistles. And what that means, I have all the traditional beliefs, and I was raised believing the Bible quite literally. I was never taught anything explicitly about abortion being wrong, but in my community, if a woman became pregnant, she had to have the baby. Abortion was not an option. So when I became an OBGYN and saw women who had unplanned pregnancy, I never questioned a woman's right to have an abortion, but I did feel conflicted about what it meant to be provided, because you see, I was and am Christian, and I knew that many Christians deeply disagree with the idea of abortion. And so I was stuck. I mean, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I am Christian, I love people, women needed my help, but I knew that the people that I would call my brothers and sisters did not agree with abortion. So I needed, in my search for guidance, a concrete example of someone who would be deeply committed to their faith identity, but who would be willing to go against the religious grain to do what they thought was right. What am I going to do? And you know, like most things, sometimes the answer is right in front of your eyes. And for me, the answer was right on the wall in my office. And it was a painting of the scenario of Jesus when he was confronted with the question of what to do with a woman who had been accused of adultery. So first of all, I was attracted to this painting because it was the image of a black Jesus. That's a TED Talk for another time, right? But I was attracted because all of the Jesuses that I'd ever seen were blue-eyed and blonde hair, but this guy was a black Jesus, and he had a beard, I have a beard, and he had an afro, and I used to have an afro. So I was just intrigued with this picture in general. But let me tell you the story that's being captured here. The story was that Jesus was passing by, and a woman was in the process of being stoned for the allegation of adultery. And she was surrounded by all the religious leaders. And they said to Jesus, now the law says that we should, anybody caught in adultery should be stoned. And this woman was caught in adultery. What should we do with her? So this Jesus kneels on the ground and he's like, and then he stands up and he says, okay, whoever is without fault should cast the first stone. And one by one, the story says, but they all walked away. So it was left, there was just Jesus and the woman. So Jesus looks around, he says, woman, where are your accusers? Is there no one here to judge you? And she drops her head and says, no, Lord. And so he establishes eye contact with her. He says, well, then neither do I. Go and follow the Lord. Now, every time I think of this story, I find strong parallels between the work that I presently do. Now, this story, I call this picture, I don't know what the real name of the picture is, but I call it Jesus and the A word. And in this story, the A word refers to adultery, but we can make this a contemporary story because all we have to do is change the A in adultery to the A for abortion. find ourselves in the same situation where a woman is being judged publicly and being harassed for a decision about her own sexuality. Now, when I looked at this painting, let me point out a few things, a few more specific details. So first, in that painting, a woman is cowering on the ground, trying to protect herself. And if you look, you see boulders all around her. She was in the midst of being stoned. So she was in peril and distress. If you look at all the people around who were exercising the judgment, they were all men because they all had beards. Either they were all men or they were women with hormone problems. I couldn't resist. I'm a gynecologist. I had to tell that joke. And as they were accusing this woman, they were all patriarchal men who were judging this woman, and they were publicly humiliating her because she was being accused of a socially unacceptable sexual practice in ways that men never are. Jesus, when he responds, first, Jesus happened upon this situation. He walked through the crowd to aid her. Now, in aiding her, he didn't grab her by the hand and run. He didn't tell them that you misunderstand the sacred text. He didn't say that you all are mean people and you're bullying this woman. He simply asked a question that provoked them to self-examination. He said, one of you who is without fault should cast the first stone. And it was a powerful example for me of if we were to look at ourselves, we would be very unwilling to judge another person harshly. The other thing about this picture that really engaged me is that Jesus, as he's kneeling, he writes on the ground, G-R-A-C, the word grace. Now, in my Southern fundamentalist Christian upbringing, I was taught that grace is the unmerited favor of God towards humans. Now, that could be the explanation, but something else occurred to me. What if grace was that woman's name? And if grace was her name, how did Jesus figure that out? Now, you could say, okay, Jesus is the Son of God, he's all-powerful, and so he knows everything. That's too easy. But if Jesus finds out her name because he goes to her in the midst of her problem, that means that he had to ask her. He had to put himself in harm's way to find out who she was. And in putting himself in harm's way, that means that he too could have been stoned. So I'd like to think that Jesus chose to be more human at that moment than he was religious. He bucked the religious system of his day. We all know that that would get you killed. But at that moment, he saw that her need was physical protection, and he responded to that. At that moment, for me personally, Jesus became the example of what religion should inspire us to do. It should inspire us to deep compassion and action on behalf of our fellow human beings. Now, in my work, providing care for women who need reproductive health care to include abortion, I find that I and those women are often in the same situation as this woman and the Jesus figure. First of all, in that scenario, that makes me Jesus. I am not Jesus. But I'd like to think Jesus could have been about 5'11" and a half, 250 pounds, bald head with a salt and pepper beard and an earring. But I'm not Jesus. Right? So in my work, I find myself identifying with the need to respond to the needs of women who are oftentimes being shamed, and whether that be for being shamed for having an abortion, whether it be for being in a non-traditional relationship, or whether it be giving birth out of wedlock. All of these are reasons that women are shamed. Now, I personally believe that men and women are equal in their humanity, and because of that, the compassion rises up in me passionately to not stand by idly and allow women to be denied their rights or to be bullied. So what that means is I have to, like the Jesus figure, be more concerned about what happens to women if I don't help them than for what might happen to me if I do. So it's that way of thinking that has allowed me to embrace the late Nobel laureate and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel when he says, "Our lives belong not to us alone,